Okay. So it says we're live, so and Diane Smith, if you're watching this, we are live now. She just texted me and said she didn't see us online, but I will send her a message back. But I will call to order the Ravenna City Council meeting of Monday, May 18th at 7 p.m. Before we get into the minutes, Councilwoman Harper, if you want to run us through what you mentioned about the cemetery, if you just give us an update.
Sure, a quick brief update. We did meet last week in regard to bringing the part-time staff back. They were scheduled to start today. I'm not sure if they did because of the weather, but they will be starting back tomorrow if it wasn't today because of the weather. Mark is using right now about $70,000 of surplus money in this year's budget that he will not have next year. So we will need to take a look at that budget before next year because there will need to be cuts made. I don't know if you want to do that as a group, a subcommittee, how you want to handle that, but it's something we definitely need to take a look at before next January.
Okay. We'll revisit that here maybe in June and start planning on if you want to do a subcommittee or a work session in those terms.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, thanks, Matt. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of committee of the whole meeting minutes for April 20th, 2020. Were there any questions or comments on those? In hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Cheryl.
Second.
And Paul. And all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. The next item on the agenda is the property at 771 North Freedom Street. This one will not need an ordinance. I believe it just needs an approval. But Mayor and Mr. Bogo, if you want to take this.
Is Mr. Bogo?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mike, you want to go ahead?
I would be happy to. As everyone probably knows, the building out at 771 North Freedom has been up for sheriff's sale. I believe it's gone twice without an offer made. Apparently, there's now a purchase agreement on the property, and the seller buyer, I'm not sure which one I would characterize, is offering $3,750 to release the city's lien. It's not a lot of money, but it is a little bit more by $3,750 than we're likely to get. If it ever did go to actual sheriff's sale, the city would get nothing and NDS would get nothing. So it's unfortunate, but the condition of the building, the roof especially, has created a maintenance issue to the point where the longevity of that building is now suspect. And so the sooner it gets into the hands and hopefully is repaired and put back on the market would be a good thing.
So Mike, we don't know who's purchasing this, or if they're purchasing it and flipping it, or what are they doing with the building?
I don't really know what they're going to do with it. I believe that it is a developer of some form that is buying it. I'm not sure that's the information that we can make public.
Okay.
As far as the specific owner. And I mean that, I don't actually know
Okay.
what the real estate rules are as far as that goes. But I do believe that the buyer is a developer of some sort. So we are optimistic that that new owner will spend some money, fix up the roof and make the building usable again. That's our hope.
So who actually owns this property at the moment?
It's an LLC. The principal was Paul Ferrara.
Well, I thought that went under, that was under, that, what, didn't we settled something regarding this property and some other property he owned in Kent a year, 2 years ago?
He had his, yes, there were lots of different things that.
There was some sort of settlement we had to pay out, didn't we?
We gave up the lien on it, I believe. What it was we had a lien. Was that, am I correct, Mike? There was a lien we let go so
Right,
that
but
he
we-
could for bankruptcy.
We accepted a small portion of, and we didn't even know how much it would be because there was so many people in the family who owned it or something along those lines.
Yeah, that was a piece of property in Kent that the family owned that he had his familial interest in, and we had tied up that property through some of
Right.
these other collateral agreements. And so, yes, we got some money out of that to release that particular piece of property. Did not include any other of his holdings.
And okay, what's our lien now? For taxes or something?
No, it's part of an economic development loan.
Oh, a loan. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. I
It's
forgot.
an
Okay.
economic development loan. NDS and the city assisted with that project. I forget how many years ago it was. But, and these are the remaining liens. I don't know bankruptcy law that well, but I guess this building was removed from the personal bankruptcy. And again, it's gone to sheriff's sale a couple of times, but no one has bid on it.
Can you tell the committee what the loan looks like in the current, where it is now and how much?
Yeah,
is owed?
sure. The original loan was $300,000. The current balance is, I've got it right here. I was prepared. $250,918.65. NDS had also put in $150,000 of its own money, and that balance is $118,852.22. All of the debt holders on this are taking a significant haircut, perhaps a little shorter than yours, Andrew.
Were you able to find out, Mike, what the actual value of the land is? Were you able to know, like, the land itself, how much it's worth?
No,
I'm looking at the tax map for this from the county, and it's 100% appraisal is $95,200. The total value is listed at over 700,000. Now, I don't know, I guess that was probably, well, it says 2019, but I'm sure given the condition you're talking about, the overall value is nowhere near that.
nowhere near it.
But what the land would be worth, I mean, it's certainly worth a little more than what they're offering us.
Well, the purchase price is $175,000. There's $100,000 tax lien.
Okay, yeah,
The first mortgage holder is getting approximately $52,000.
yeah.
The fact that the city and NDS are possibly getting anything at all is nothing short of a miracle.
In my opinion, I think that it's better to get something than nothing. If we were to try to do anything to fight it, it's going to cost more than what we'd even get.
But
Well, I mean, we don't own it. If we owned it, we could put it up for bid or something like that, but it doesn't sound like we get any customers anyway, but we don't even own it, so we don't have control over.
That is
Did you-
correct.
Did this go to bid? Wasn't this on the sheriff's sale?
I
Mike?
believe twice.
and you're saying that the city is owed like $230,000 on this?
250, yes.
250, and so our loss will be $250,000 when this deal goes through.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Well, Mayor, you have anything to add on this?
Just a sec. Not really. Mr. Bogle has covered it quite well. This is when these loans were made, this was a thriving business. He was also able to rent off the other half to a company that did billing for medical purposes. That gentleman retired and closed down that whole operation. It left the doctor with, well, it was his property, but he lost income with that. He paid on this faithfully in the beginning. And then when he got into financial trouble, he asked if we would accept interest only. We did not agree, and we did not disagree with that. He sent it. We didn't really want to be a part of saying that was all right with that, but he did send it for a while. But then it became so difficult that it wasn't possible for him to recover. As I recall, he was the person that had the contract for the physical therapy at Robinson Memorial when this was done. And I believe this happened in 2009. That's what I've seen on one piece of paper here. But the hospital then hired a contractor from a different area, a locale, and that business fell apart when that happened, and that was the beginning of the end with that.
Okay.
So my question, so you just need approval from the Committee on Economic, from the Community and Economic Development is what you guys are searching for right now?
That's how we've handled these in the past.
Okay.
It's that you more normally would see these on homes that we did rehab things on, and those folks don't have to pay until they sell the house. Well, we've had a few occasions where they sell the house, but they can't get the full price out of the house. It's a short sale. And we have been asked to waive in those conditions also. And we have done that. And that was done by just taking it to committee and having that happen. You have to remember, these are all RLF funds. They're recovered funds from grants that were loans, and they come back into various categories, and we are able then to reloan the money back out again. And that was the source of this particular project at the time, was economic development funds, RLF funds.
So moving forward with this, with the approval with this, we have the opportunity to maybe make something of that building that's been sitting vacant for quite some time, but we don't know what that something may turn into.
That is correct.
Okay.
Obviously, anything that is proposed with that building will have to meet the zoning code.
Okay.
I had a question about if the money came out of the revolving development fund and it doesn't go back in, does the revolving development fund, that pool of money, just shrink by this amount and can't get back up to its original size again?
Well, we've got quite a few of these. We're asking you tonight in another event there to okay $200,000 for
The COVID.
Business restart.
Yeah, the restart. And that's coming out of that same particular fund. There are separate funds for the housing improvements or complete overalls. They come from other parts of the revolving loan accounts. This is not something that we're thrilled about. We had this happen also down at the glass place down the street from this.
I remember that.
And
Yeah.
that was a case where that was a thriving business. It's kind of like the pandemic. Everything was wonderful and the man died. And the wife was not able to run the business. She had to, and you know, people started stopped sending their money they owed in. She had to get rid of the business, so she practically had to give it away. And they moved it up to, I think, to Geauga County. And we had given that particular project, I think it was $200,000, and he'd been paying back on it. But in the end, that was not recoverable either at that point in time. But the project that they did is still in place out there. That was basically to handle water that, because there is a floodplain in the area there, and they put the ditch into underground tubing to keep the flow of water going properly with that. So the city, there was value gotten out of it because it solved a problem there that could have affected the whole neighborhood.
Well, I will
So,
throw it back to Christina. Yeah, okay. I
yep,
didn't know where you went.
sorry about that. The dog is having a heart attack because it's raining. It makes it hard to zoom. Does anybody else have any questions on that? Please understand, Mike, this is a little newer to me, so I'm just trying to understand where this is coming from. It's something that was kind of just thrown on pretty quick. So I want to make sure that we understand, the process and how this works and the importance of it. So if you think of anything else that you think you need to share with us.
I
As far as
talked
the-
with Mike for quite a while the other day because I did call when I heard about it. And, it's kind of a no-win situation, really, when you think about it. I'm a little nervous on what could be going there. But, we really don't have, the only thing we have, that's easing my mind is our zoning, because, hopefully, that will protect us of something that maybe not be desirable going in. But if this person is willing to invest the money and, make this building thrive, then, I'm for it. So I did do my background and talk with Mr. Seaman and Mike. And at this point, I don't know if we have a lot of options.
Okay. Mr. Calfee, what are your thoughts?
I'm okay to move it forward.
Okay.
You hate to hear the loss of $250,000, but at this point, I'm not sure what else we can do.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything. It's been a long process, unfortunately. And the building is really in bad condition.
Yes, it is. And so we're probably going to see that loss no matter what. So this is an opportunity to take something and maybe make something good with it. I mean, it is a good space. It's in a good location. So we could get a good business in that space at some point. So we're good for the committee to move it for approval then?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Well, we'll move on to item number 3. As it reads right now, this is an ordinance to approve the expanded use of outdoor restaurant seating and to authorize the mayor to approve temporary outdoor dining permits. And I kind of have a question mark on the end of ordinance right now, whether we think we need an ordinance for this. This is focused solely on the businesses in the downtown area who themselves would put out tables in the front. And I don't know if Kay, she was CC'd on an email because I had some questions for Finney this afternoon. And he did provide some insight into what this ordinance could look like. But I think I wanted to get the feedback from council. Is this something we want to move forward with in the temporary basis, obviously? So it would be from May 19th to August 31st is what Finney had suggested. And I kind of wanted to get the feedback from the committee. Is this something you want to see moving forward? The mayor as well, if this is something that we need in ordinance form, or if this is something that could go through the office currently without council action or planning commission too.
I think for me, it's something that I would like to see move forward. I think that we need to do what we can to support our businesses downtown, because if we don't support those restaurants, we're not getting anybody down there. So whatever we can do for that, not 100% sure what that ordinance would look like. So hopefully we can get some feedback on that. Mr. Mayor, what are your thoughts?
I think maybe if we look at this from the standpoint that we've declared an emergency in the city, that we could go ahead and handle this administratively. The one that 1888 went through this and did go through the Planning Commission a year ago to set up what she's got there. In reality, she probably has the most difficult spot to deal with. Some of the other establishments already have seating up, or they have another place that they can send people to. Megan's has talked to the Ravenna Township and got permission to put picnic tables over in the little city park on the corner down there. With that,
Township owned city.
yeah,
Yeah.
the township owns that. I think that we could go ahead and do this, working with Mr. Finney, first to take a look at it and see what we should permit, and then we could go ahead and issue it. It's not totally out of the realm of, we also issue permits for the use of the front of the courthouse lawn. We issue permits for parades and those sorts of things. Those don't all come to council. But if we do this and it's under this emergency thing, when we get to the end of the emergency thing, which is scheduled to run out in December, then it would revert back, and then we could reassess it. Those are my thoughts, but I'm willing to listen to if you've got any other thoughts.
I'm
I
okay.
just have a question pertaining. My question is, why the August 31st date specifically, and not something possibly a little bit later?
I think he was just, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Finney, but I think he was just looking for an end date. And I could stand corrected. Maybe there's another date in mind that he was thinking of, but I think he was just looking to identify an end date for a resolution or an ordinance.
As I was saying, I am okay with it. My big concern was picnic tables in the courthouse area, because I worry about who's going to maintain them, who's going to, disinfect them after people eat on them. I think it's personally best, close to the restaurant or at the restaurant, because then they're able to control, sanitize. Plus, it keeps people, I think, closer to their establishment where they may want, additional items, drinks. So I just caution, if we do put anything on, the courthouse, limit the amount that goes there and maybe take them down. And that would maybe be a job of, Main Street or the board, not our city employees, but that nonprofit. So that's my input.
This specific ordinance, if it becomes an ordinance, is not pertaining to the courthouse or any other places. This is just pertaining to allowing the businesses to apply to be able to put additional or outdoor seating in front of their businesses, correct?
I think it could be handled that way. I think the issue with the courthouse really is one that we should keep control of that. And if we were to do that sort of thing, I would want to buy very light furniture, probably C2, and like they do with when the food buses come in at the library. That's set up, they're out there. When the buses leave, the furniture disappears. And it's handled that way. I don't want to put out permanent types of seating and that sort of thing, because if it doesn't work, we can use these somewhere else. But I have not looked into the purchase of that. I think what we're concerned with is right now in front of the restaurants or in their locale, places for them to be able to do this to help stimulate their business.
Bob Finney is muted, and so Andrew, I don't know if you can, he just sent me a message. He's unable to talk. So
Oh, is that him on the phone?
he is on. He's on. So he is hearing everybody. He wanted to let everyone know, but he is muted.
Benny, is that you on the phone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize that was you.
That's all right. My internet connection took a turn in the wrong direction.
So was there anything additional since you've been listening that you want to add?
Absolutely. Of course I do. My concern, as always, is the city does not want to lose control. I often get asked questions pertaining to different things that we have no control over. Cats, for instance. I have no control over cats. We allow these people carte blanche to do what they want, and then I'm going to get a phone call, you need to fix this. I can't fix it. We just allow them to do what they want. So it's going to be beneficial if we have some fast permit process, similar to somebody that wants to wash windows and they want to block off the sidewalk and put a lift in to go up on a third floor and stuff. The service director has permission to do those things, be it whether it's the service director that's going to approve this or not. Somebody has to grant permission to block a street off to bring a crane in to do some work or something like that.
Mhm.
And my concern is these businesses or even the occupants that are sitting at these tables slide their chair 3 feet away. Maybe they can't belly up to the table properly, and they're blocking the sidewalk. So there needs to be some control, and although I'm not in control of the street department, but I agree. I don't think we should be wiping these tables off and cleaning bird poop and picking up the trash necessarily. I mean, city garbage cans are one thing, but same thing if a chair gets stolen. Are we going to be responsible for that? So, and Paul, to answer your question, why August 31st? If an applicant today came into us asking for outdoor seating, the planning commission would be required, or would generally be required, for a non-conforming use or a conditional use, which is when the smoking ban went in and several of the businesses wanted a place for the smokers to go outside. That's what planning commission did. So that's the consistency with all of this. The same thing we did with 1888. It hadn't been a while since somebody came to us asking for outdoor seating. But stay consistent, we went back to when the smoking ban came in. There was 4 or 5 of them that came to planning commission, got permission to do outdoor as a conditional use, and they were permitted that. If somebody brought us an application tomorrow, they would miss the planning commission's agenda, which is next Tuesday night. So that would put them into the end of June. Then it has to go to a public hearing because it's conditional use. Now we're at the end of July. We're not helping these businesses.
Yeah.
However, if we drew a line and said August 31st, then they could have their couple months, come to planning commission in June, and then same thing in July for public hearing. Then that would be potentially a permanent, application for their business. That was the only reason. And we know come October, November, people aren't sitting outside in Ohio anyway, for the most part.
Oh, you never know.
Well, and that's true. They sit
Maybe it's
outside now. You're right.
So here are my thoughts. I agree with what Bob said, that we need to have some control. I also agree that I think we need an ordinance because I think not having sort of an official acknowledgement of what we're doing makes it real confusing. And then Bob's right. How do we enforce it if we really don't have it on the books? And what we do have on the books says they can't do it. So I think there's just too much confusion about what this is. I am in favor of an expedited permit process, but I do think we need to pass something, even if it's very vague in wording. And I do think we need the law director to chime in too, because I worry about liability issues. If we're complicit in restaurants setting up seating in such a way that it does inhibit somebody with a wheelchair or causes some kind of damage, then where are we in the chain of the lawsuit? So I think we do need an ordinance that clearly states that the business owner is responsible. And the only other issue I have concerns about, because I think Bob will agree, a lot of this stuff has to do with liquor. You know, whether or not you can have liquor outside, and if you do, you have to have fences and all this other stuff. So I think we need an ordinance that clearly says that no alcohol can be served outside unless the business already has a liquor license that covers it. So for those reasons, I do think we need some official action, just sort of stating what we're agreeing to, what we're allowing these businesses to do, and then having the process be as quick as possible. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to expand on the ordinance, work with Finney and the law director on this. I do think it's just finding a way to support the businesses downtown, you know, urgently, and try to supplement, you know, the customers that might be coming in. You know, these people are supporting our downtown and part of the fabric down there. So I think any way we can support them is it's a good thing and should be a priority. Also looking at, you know, the city's liability and whatnot, but they took a chance on our downtown, so I think we should be looking to support them any way we can. Yeah, Mayor or anybody else have anything to add on that?
No, I'm just afraid we're going to get bogged down and past the point of being able to help. And please keep in mind, if you read the paper today, you're going to hear that other issue. If Kent opens up all of their entertainment areas for alcohol sale, do not think that we're not going to be asked about that.
Well, my understanding is we already have one. It's already in our ordinance that we have a community entertainment district. But the requirement is that individual business owners have to apply for this license. It's $2,000 or so. So we already have, I think we're ahead of Kent in this one, unless I'm reading our ordinance wrong. That would be my answer to anybody asking the question about what Kent's doing.
No, they're talking about walking around with it in the area.
Right. Yeah, so am I. But I mean, that's not, the city has to set up the district, but the individual businesses have to apply for the licenses to make that work. And
Well, you're the one that makes the application for the Art Fest.
yeah, that's a different type of license, and that's only for one day.
Yeah, well, I think the state is possibly looking at allowing them for longer periods of time. And all I know is what I see in the newspaper, and sometimes I understand it and sometimes I don't.
The city of Canton has such a license. They have a First Friday initiative, and you can go to certain establishments, get a certain type of cup, and then you can walk outside within that district. Our district is set up, believe it or not, if I'm reading this correctly, because I saw the article and I wanted to find out what it was all about. We have an ordinance that says our district extends from the city boundaries, east and west, and up to Highland and down to Riddle. So it's the entire expanse of Main Street within the city limits. Of course, you have to be in the right, you have to be zoned correctly. And again, you have to get the permit. But I don't know, what I read says we're ahead of Kent, because I don't know if Kent has such a district already.
All right, well, you can look into that too. I'm seeing section 111-08, but maybe you're looking somewhere else.
I'll send out the section.
Yeah.
I think it's 1280 something, 84 or something like that. It's within the zoning code.
It's in chapter 12, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So Bob, you can confirm what I just said?
Yeah, absolutely. Zoning is going to dictate what type of business can be in the C1 or Central Business District or C2. So, you know, if somebody's on Highland Avenue in the R3, they're not going to be permitted that type of business or establishment.
Okay.
But with regard to outdoor seating, I don't want to circumvent Planning Commission's authority. However, with the whole COVID-19, the last couple months, we've circumvented a lot of things just to keep moving forward. I know the city has passed resolutions. You know, is it acceptable to wait until the beginning of June for an ordinance to pass? Well, we're certainly not ready to pass an ordinance tonight. unless we called a special meeting next week.
Well, I think I
We
can
have the
work-
weather-wise this weekend's supposed to be really nice.
Well, I'll loop back with you as early tomorrow. I think you wrote the start of an ordinance, and we can talk with Samino just to make sure legally we're where we want to be, and then loop back with council, see where we are next week, and if things move quick enough and everybody's okay and available, we can certainly call a special just to pass this one ordinance. So I think it's just, one step at a time.
Keep in
but
mind,
moving quickly.
Andrew, next Monday is Memorial Day.
So maybe next Tuesday.
So if we could do anything, would we be able to do it this week so that they have the Memorial Day weekend?
It is
How many
Monday.
days does it have to be advertised in the paper for a special council meeting?
Chelsea's holding up one finger. Yeah.
24 hours.
Okay.
Next Tuesday is the planning commission at 7 o'clock.
Correct.
Okay.
And we were hearing a new business in the central business district. They will go to a public hearing also.
Okay.
But if we want to move forward and do something where it's not going to take forever, we need to get on this now.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I will
Yeah,
work with
this week
Finney.
would be great.
I agree.
I'll work with Finney, send everyone what we come up with to get some feedback and see how quickly we can get this moving to support the downtown businesses and the outdoor seating. Does that work for everyone?
That works.
Okay.
Yes,
Everybody else?
Okay.
yes,
Quicker
and
the better.
they have to have the wheelchair accessible and things of that nature.
Okay. Well, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is to appropriate $200,000 for business restart to help aid opening small businesses. This is community and economic development, and I can throw this back to the mayor if you'd like, or if
Well, I think Ms. West that's her committee.
And Mr. Mayor, I think you already pretty much covered it. We've talked about this in quite in detail.
Yeah.
And it's really just to appropriate those dollars to help that business restart. So if anybody has any questions quickly, or, we could, if the pleasure of the committee is to move this on, let me know.
well, with that, what's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Yes,
Ordinance.
All right, there you go. Thank you,
Thank-
sir.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to authorize the mayor to apply for the 2020 FEMA COVID-19 supplemental grant. This is public health and safety. Amy?
And yes, we talked about this at committee. It's just authorizing the mayor to apply for this. Hopefully, we get it and are able to get some money. And I want to say again, thank you to Cheryl for helping our fire department and looking at some of their stuff. And I know Mark has worked really hard on him, and Brad have been working on trying to get all this information just right, so we're able to get funding.
They've done a great job.
Yeah. All right. Any questions? Pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
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 Thanks. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to appropriate $3,000 for the necessary repair to the front foyer roof at the fire station. This is also public health and safety.
And also, we talked about this as well. This is to fix a leak on the roof. And this was the amount of money that the bid, I think we already have, we got an estimate for this. So this is right where we are with it, and it needs to be fixed. So
Yeah, it's a long time coming.
it is.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that? And the pleasure of the committee?
Move
Ordinance.
yes,
Ordinance.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to appropriate $8,000 for the necessary purchase of 4 sets of turnout gear for 2 new hires. This is also public health and safety.
Yes, we talked about this as well for the new sets. Mark, were we still going to, if we are going to hire that other additional person?
We have to see what the outcome would be with Tyler's arbitration
Okay,
And then
So,
we'd be able
we're-
to move after that.
okay, so if we don't need to purchase the extra set, we're not going to, but if we do, the money's there so that we can purchase it.
Correct.
Any questions?
Pleasure of the committee.
Yes.
Ordinance.
Thanks. The next item on the agenda is number 8. This is the conditional use for the halfway houses. I spoke a little bit to the mayor about this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor. Did you want to do schedule a work session to talk about this more in detail with a couple members of council?
Yes, I would prefer that. This will end up being a change in the zoning ordinance, but I would like to meet with a few people from there and Mr. Finney and myself.
And this being with planning, obviously, Rob, I would assume you'd be a
Yeah.
part of this.
Fine.
And then,
Sure.
did you identify him? Go ahead. Sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Now, how did you want to meet? Do you want to meet in person or?
I would prefer it.
Okay,
Uh,
we can do that.
Yeah. Dick, is there somebody else that wants to volunteer to look at it?
Sure, I will.
Okay. All right. We'll get together and set up a meeting then with that, and we'll move on that. We are actually going to have to, at some point, take a complete look at our present zoning. But this is something that needs attention more immediately.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, then we will move that forward. So the next item on the agenda. Well, actually, let me go back. Can I just get a pleasure of the committee on that for the planning committee to move that forward?
Ordinance, I guess. That's what we're trying to work on, right?
Work towards,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ordinance.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the retroactive approval of the April 2020 accounting transactions. This is the advances and transfers. Brian, are you? Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just the normal grants that we advance money to. This is the return of the like about $560. So standard monthly advance.
Okay. Any questions on that? Pleasure of the committee.
Ordinance.
Ordinance.
All right. Number 10 is to a sum of $2,476.28 for the city's unemployment liability notice of benefits paid. This is also the finance director.
This one, yeah, we don't budget any money normally for unemployment. We usually don't have too many of these claims. We have a couple part-time employees that were able to apply successfully for unemployment. So we have to pay this month, and we may get a couple of these in future months, depending on how things go.
Any questions on that? Pleasure of the committee.
Ordinance.
Ordinance.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 11 on the agenda is to appropriate the 27th pay on 12/31/2020 for the proper accounting for the 2020 payroll budget. Brian's also finance director.
Yes, this one unfortunately was not budgeted when we did the permanent budget for 2020. The 1st of January actually is a pay date. And when we budgeted the 2020 budget, we only had 26 pays on there. So we do have to advance forward that January 1st to December 31st. So by doing that, that's going to cause us to have to pay it in 2020. So we just, instead of budgeting this amount of money in 2021, we just have to move it up a year. It's, yeah, a pretty significant amount of money that hits a lot of different funds, unfortunately, but it's just a timing difference is all it is.
Any questions from council on that?
Ordinance.
Good.
Thanks.
Ordinance.
Number 12 on the agenda is 2020 budget appropriation adjustment needed for the capital project lines in sewer and water. This is also Finance Director, Brian.
Yes, so this one, when we were going through the capital budget for 2021, setting those up, it was realized that there were some capital projects that were flip-flopped. So we have to move them out of the sewer fund and put them into the water fund. So the net effect is 0, but they're budgeted in the wrong funds for 2020. So we got to go ahead and move those back.
Okay. Any questions? Pleasure of the committee.
Ordinance.
Yeah.
Thanks. And there is one more. This one is a bond ordinance, and I'm going to read it in its entirety and then have Brian explain it. But this is an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of not to exceed 330,000 of bonds to pay in anticipation of the collection of special assessments heretofore levied the property owner's portion and the city's portion of the cost of improving certain parcels by constructing, widening, grading, draining, paving, and otherwise improving a connector road in a westbound deceleration lane comprising the Enterprise Parkway project and declaring an emergency. So that was a mouthful, but Brian, do you mind explaining that? And while he's explaining it, I'm going to send this off to all of council so you have the 2-page pager. We can talk more in detail during the regular council on this.
Yeah, so thank you for reading that mouthful there. That was a long one. This originated back in 2016 is what I'm just coming into this as well, and I had some discussions with Kimball about this. But this was originally planned in 2016. At the time, the city was not well rated as far as our bond rating. So it was not advisable to try to go out for this debt unless we wanted to pay an exorbitant amount of interest. So because of that, we actually loaned ourselves the money, and we've been paying on that from the water fund. Well, that's really not the best accounting practice. This is what we had to do at the time. But now that our bond rating is significantly higher, we're able to go out and enjoy some pretty good rates. And especially right now, the rates are unprecedented. That's why we want to kind of push it towards the June meeting so that we can take advantage of some really historic low rates. And this is all based on the advisement of our bond counsel, same one we've been using for many, many years. So that's where we're at with this. Yeah, like Andrew said, it is the Enterprise Parkway project. It started, yeah, like I said, 2016, it looked like.
Any questions?
So is that still taking out of water, or is that taking out of other areas as well?
Well, the bond proceeds came from the water fund in 2016, and we've been making payments back to the water fund since then as the special assessments come in. This would take it and put the money back into the water fund, so it would all be there, and then it would just get paid out of the normal Enterprise Parkway debt fund, just like any other normal bond would. Yeah, right now it's kind of weird. It's just coming out, we're paying ourselves is what we're doing.
Brian, who's our bond counsel?
It's Amanda Gordon is her name. Kimball's worked with her for many years, and she's at McDonald Hopkins.
Okay.
Any questions on that? I'm sure we might during regular council after you read through it, maybe.
This is all paid for by the assessments.
That's correct.
Yeah, the city's not paying any money on this. It's the assessments on the business that are paying it.
All right. Well, with that, what's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Yes.
Ordinance.
Thank you. And is there any other business to come before council tonight?
I just want to make sure that everyone's aware. I talked with Mr. Seaman, and I want to make sure that nothing has changed, but I've got a lot of questions in regards to the city cleanup. And last I was told, we are not doing it this year due to the funding situation that we're in. And originally we talked about it last year. We had talked about doing it every other year. So I don't know if the rest of council has been getting questions on this or not. I've tried to explain the best as I could. And I don't know if ever there's an option of putting up some dumpsters at the city, garage where people could put some items there. I know that was always kind of hesitant to do something like that, but I just wanted, if there's been any changes, is this decision or not?
There's been plenty of changes because we're in a very difficult financial position right now.
I know.
And we cannot do that this year. Hopefully we can do it next year, but right now we're in a survival mode.
And I think everybody understands that, but people haven't heard, because I've had a lot of people ask me, and when I've said, no, I don't think we're doing it this year, they're very understanding, but
Right.
it hasn't been brought up. So, you know, to mention, because a lot of people right now, what are they doing? Guess what I just rented last week? I rented a dumpster and cleaned out my house. I mean, so a lot of people are just waiting to see what to do with stuff.
And
So
I
as long
don't
as-
know, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, you're good.
I
Go
don't know if
ahead.
that could be added on the water bill, you know, that to let residents know and maybe put on our website as well. I've been doing my part of sharing it as much as possible, but that there still seems to be a big question about that amongst our residents.
And the people that I had talked to are not giving negative feedback when I say I don't think we're doing it. I mean, they just
No,
wanna-
everybody's been pretty, you know, okay, I understand. I mean, we can't help it, you know,
Right.
so.
Yeah, and I can add to that too. I've been hearing a couple people talk about it, but like Christina said, all positive when you explain the situation.
And Andrew and
Yep.
Amy, I would be 100% against dumpsters placed, you know, different locations around the city. That would be disaster.
Okay. I know other cities do it, so that's why, you know, I just thought
It
I
would
throw
just
it
be a
out there.
big mess. Yeah.
And you can't
That's
control what
that's
goes
my
in them.
opinion.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, we had that discussion, I think, a year ago or so on
Mhm.
how that might roll out if we were to do that.
And
Okay.
I think last
But
year
I've been asked,
we didn't discuss, we never said that we were going to have that cleanup this year anyways.
Right.
So
Right.
it was just left at, it was my understanding we left it at every other year, hopefully. And it's all dependent, again, you know, if we can find a hauler to do it. And of course, the budget.
Okay.
We've gotten
And
a lot of calls.
Kay, what is your thought? Kay, what is your thought on having something in a water bill in the very near future to let everyone know that it won't be done this year?
I'm sorry, you broke up at the beginning. What was the first part, Paul?
Okay,
What
what
was the
is
first part
your
of your question?
belief on, okay. I would like to know what your thought is on having something in a water bill in the very near future. That way all the residents know that it'll be eliminated for this particular calendar year.
The soonest we
What
could
do you
get it,
think?
we could do that, but the soonest it would be, it couldn't be in the water bill until most likely probably July's water bill, because Mike needs the notice like the last week for the next month to have a message put in. So I can check with him if it get in the June bills, but I'm not 100% sure. But Julie, also, we can put it on the city's website as well.
Yeah, that's good. The website would be perfect. At least they could
Yeah.
look up there right away.
Yeah, so we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else that you'd like to come before council? Well, with that, I will end the meeting tonight and talk to you all next week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.